Welcome to episode 2 of the Proof of Concept podcast with me, your host, Valerie Mudhoni. Today's topic, we'll be delving into artist management. What's an artist-manager relationship, a successful one, meant to look like? What's going on in the artist education sector? What's going on in artist rights in Kenya, which includes AI, IP, royalties, etc. And we have the perfect person talking with us here today for today's episode. And we have Moret-Qubu, who is a South African self-identifying creative business scientist. They are also a former artist manager at Soul Generation, managing artists like Nviri the Storyteller and Benso. She is also just recently completed being a department head of artist management at Perform Music Incubator, as well as being the co-founder of Artist Rights Africa and Jerry Kolisa. It's about to be a very insightful conversation. I look forward to getting into it, but first, some music to kick us off.
Sunny day, beautiful people pass my way, butterflies and bumblebees, nectar in the air, and so I sing, hip-hop, hooray, a brand new day, breath of fresh air to me, smile for me, baby. Jazzy flow, sweat dripping down my vein, giving me better days. Music is my life, music is my time, bringing me better days. All I can do is sing. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum.
Welcome back to the Proof of Concept podcast. No matter where you're listening, good morning, good afternoon, good night. I hope you're all right. Today we have a beautiful special guest, my good friend and legend in the industry, Moret-Qubu. Yeah, how do you... Please give us a brief introduction for the people that don't know you. Who are you, darling?
My name is Moret-Qubu, also known by my nickname Natasha, and I identify as a creative business scientist. That means I'm all up into the business of creativity, and actually around how you commercialize, strategize, and how you deliver in commercially optimal ways.
Come on, optimum ways, effective, because you could do anything, but if it's not at the optimum level. Yeah, so I met Eagle a few years ago when she was in the era of her life of being an artist manager and working with artists, management and artist development. But since then, you've evolved into so many beautiful ways and roles. Lately, most recently, you were head of what at Perform Music Incubator?
Head of artist management.
Yes, head of artist management at Perform Music Incubator, which is a music professional music education system.
Yeah, it's a capacity building program.
Yes, those are it's a terminology, but
industry capacity building program.
There we go. So knowing that, like, how long have you been in this Kenyan music industry?
So I think right now we'd be looking at around 8 years. It's been quite a journey. I started off in corporate. I know you know all of this. So just to slightly explain my background, started off in corporate and at PwC as an accountant, as an auditor. So I actually, when I say identify as a business scientist, my degree is actually called a business science degree, where I specialize in finance and operations. So started off in audit and accounts, moved through into more management positions, so management accountant, and then finance manager, and then finance director, working across multinationals. I've worked in mining, so from audit I've worked in mining, I've worked in commodities trading, I've worked in medical devices, so wheelchairs, orthotics, prosthetics with a company called Ottobock in Germany.
I didn't even know all this.
And then my last role was country finance manager, as well as sitting on the global finance team for, at the time, the 5th largest law firm globally, called Hogan Lovells, with headquarters in the UK and in Washington, DC. And what I headed up was something called the Global Business Services Center, which was basically the back office that runs the law firm. So your billing, accounting, excuse me, excuse you, bless you.
Back to you, sorry.
So like all the back office functions and being the backbone of the business. So that's really where I thrive when it comes to setting up businesses, operations, business development. So I was involved in strategies that expand these business across the continent. So that's when I started actually traveling the continent more and really thinking we are the source. Because I'd spent time in Europe, I'd spent time in the UK, and actually the first time I came to Kenya was on holiday to climb Mount Kenya, which I conquered and almost died because I was underprepared. I thought it was a hike.
You thought it was like a small hill. No.
Dude.
No, it's a mountain. Mount Kenya, the biggest.
So I thought that was like, we were just coming on a fun holiday. But at the time, my husband, who's also now my partner, and I had committed all our travel budget to traveling Africa, because we were like, we are all over. He was in Asia, he was in Singapore and all that, and we were like, we need to know more about our roots. So my first ever trip to Kenya was 2012, and I was obviously still in corporate at the time, and just seeing the Kenyan scene creatively, and especially when you come as a guest and you're really meeting people in a way where they really open about being themselves. So it's less than, when you have business meetings or business connections, and a lot of time when you travel for business reasons, how people present themselves is quite differently. So on holiday, you actually get to see a people when you travel. And
cultures.
Also even for yourself, you are less guarded. And so that was really amazing to experience. And the beauty that is Kenya, oh my God. So we did Masai Mara, Nakuru, Lake Nakuru, Naivasha. Also went to Diani for the first time and spent some nights in Nairobi.
Which is also where you got married, for those that don't know.
Yeah, that's actually why we got married. We got married at the same hotel we stayed in 2012. Because after climbing that mountain and being sick from malaria medication, and at the end, when we got back to South Africa, we actually realized it was during that trip and on that beach where we were like, okay, I think I can, do
I
this
could see myself.
boyfriend thing with this dude for quite a while.
I can see it.
So that's also why we did. So Kenya really held a special place in our hearts, and over the next years we endeavored to try figure out, even how to do a short stint here. So my husband partner now came with his then employer Unilever to do, I think it was a year and a half or so assignment. And man, after that I was coming to Nairobi on a monthly basis to see each other and experiencing the market, the nightlife, the energy, the music and now, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it's like a melting pot of culture and creativity. And there's something really special about the Kenyan creative that really was just we don't wait for structures to be created for ourselves. We're going to go and do that. So I love that hustle spirit.
It's like building actually, from afresh.
Yeah, that's what inspired me to be brave enough, I think, of 4 years later to quit my job, to quit corporate and not know what I was going to do next. I'm not going to lie and say, when I quit, I was like, oh my God, I was going to do the music. I knew I wanted to work in spaces that help the African creative further themselves. I was working in corporate for multinationals that weren't even of South African origin, so which means the profits actually even leave my country. And now I'm like, who am I doing this for? So if I'm really good at this business development, this finance operation space, why am I serving people who led to so many disadvantages on our continent?
Right.
And when we have to struggle, so where are the African professionals that are supposed to, no one's going to get us out of the ghetto but us.
Yeah.
So I had to be real with that because it's so nice. I can escape my home and go and live my nice life there.
Still find another home here.
Yeah, and then when I was in Europe, I was just like, wait, those people are there setting up their own things, fixing up their own things. Who's doing that? Because you graduate, you get that qualification, the first thing you want to do is go live abroad. But no one is coming home. We get embarrassed by even our homes when we're out there and we hail everything that's other. But who are we waiting for to do this work? So also in growing older, other things become important to you. So that's what it got to where I was like, I feel like I wake myself up every day to betray myself on a daily basis. So moving to Kenya Kenya saved my life, basically, on a spiritual level, for real. So when I do this work, it's also because this work serves me. So it's been 8 years of this where it's service, and it's service to the African creative. So those are my two criterias when I look at what I'm going to do for a living.
Want to do,
So it's the African creative, yes. Am I serving and am I building structures that lead to sustainability of our industries, that improve our industries? Yes. And then lastly, is it youth focused? Because that's the majority, but also a large part of neglected people on our continent. So so that's my third criteria when I evaluate. So in short, it's been 8 years of experience in Kenya, but there was another about 10 years prior of corporate experience. So what I'm doing is basically translating that into the creative market.
Beautiful. So I assume, for you to have really not uprooted your life, but evolved.
I did. I sold my house. I sold my car.
Uprooted your life, and to decide this is where I'm living. I want to invest all my knowledge and all that I have into this Kenyan creative industry. So I have 2 questions. It's a 2-parter. Number one, just briefly, what was that you've explained it pretty well and how it filled your soul and how it changed your life. But what was it about the Kenyan creative industry that you're like, oh, I need to get into this? And 2, is there any specific unique financial advice or strategies that you would use in the finance industry, in the tech and, that former job that you can apply or have applied in this entertainment industry? So
I think that's what I was saying. For me, it was creative nature of the Kenyan creative. To even give you an example, I would watch music videos in SA and music videos in Kenya. SA has larger budgets, but the Kenyan music videos would be much better in terms of creativity, storytelling, style. And so just because you've got budget also doesn't make things, just because you've got the money and like the advance. And sometimes it's a disadvantage because it actually now lessens your creativity. So I loved the solutions that people could come up with. And I think we were speaking the other day and I was telling you about how thrifting in South Africa is like looked down upon, whereas here thrifting is a form of creativity, which
It's
I
empowering.
love, absolutely love. So it was that I needed that kind of inspiration, like I say, even from a personal level, but also to see where you can contribute. So I could see the industry and like I'm interacting with people and I can see where challenges are. And when I think about it and what I do in the businesses that I serve, these solutions, and this is answering your second questions, are applicable, all of them. So it's not like some finance strategies, basically. Because I worked across so many different industries, I realized that I can do what I do anyway, which was a gift as well. At the time, I was like, oh gosh, people are being specialists. What are you doing? Who's a generalist? And we were really pushed to specialize. So even when I was leaving PwC, it was, I used to audit banks. So Stanbic is under SBSA, which is Standard Banks, South Africa's SBG, Standard Bank Group. So I used to audit that. And people were saying you can only ever work in the banking sector. I did not. I've been in mining, commodities, blah, 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 blah. So then I was like, I can do this in creativity then. And especially because I also identify as a creative, the bravery of these creatives to wake up and pursue. And also a lot of Kenyan artists have other professions, like people are lawyers, people are this, and you're like, wait, man, this is...
It's not just one thing.
You shouldn't actually, first of all, unless you really want to, but why are you even forced to do this? And this is really sad. You should be able to build sustainable careers. So I made that as like one of my key goals, like to contribute to that sustainability. And what you do is basically apply the things that you apply in a business. Because it's creative doesn't not make it a business. Because it's a artist brand does not make you not a business. So
like Jay-Z said, I'm a business and a businessman.
Exactly. So that's literally, so on what do I apply? I apply everything. And that's why I also go into that consultancy space, because I also realized I could be serving one entity versus being able to serve now different types of brands, entities, businesses, people, to show them how to take the same business principles and apply them to themselves in creative. So it's absolutely no different. I think what's been sold as different is how it's been, put out in society as an informal sector a lot of the time. And because people classify it as an informal sector, you don't think that formal business rules apply. But in the same way, you have to do a balance sheet and a P&L in a business, you should actually be doing that in your creative business. As you as an artist, you have to be budgeting, you have to have operations, you have to do audits, you have to look at your staff and look at who you're hiring. So you look at human resources and what that looks like. You actually look at your planning, marketing, you strategize. So all of those things are applicable. And what my one goal is demystifying creatives believing that they do not have to conduct themselves professionally
as a business.
Because that's where we fail a lot.
I think even just listening to you speak, having that knowledge of working as a businesswoman first with finance and stuff before getting to creative industry, it must help a lot, because as creatives, and especially like even if you have a manager that's a creative, they're seeing things most times as a creative. They're not seeing it, like you said, as a business that could be global, and that, like you said, need audits. You still need to look at your staff. You still need to take stock,
and decide, what am I doing? 5-year planning, 10-year planning, like any business, retirement planning. So very few artists even think about that. When you enter a corporate business, you've got your retirement annuity or pension fund and medical fund that a lot of the time you even automatically sign up for, especially the multinationals. You don't even have a choice, all of that. And that was like my life. And when I moved out, I was like, people don't even think about those things, like that planning and stuff. So we should really just unless you're doing creativity for the sake of doing creativity, which is
As
also
a hobby,
okay,
yeah, it's
as a
fun.
hobby, and you're not looking to commercialize, that's also still cool.
Yeah.
But if you really are trying to do this intentionally as a life path, as a sustaining life path, then you do have to now treat that as your business, because it is.
Yeah, that's a great gem. I think even for all the aspiring artists out there, it's not just. I mean, as you said, you can take it as less serious as you want or as serious as you want. But if you do plan on making a living out of this business, out of this industry, you need to learn how to make it a business without letting it control the art, if so to speak. So that's a perfect time to just take a small break and go a little music for the people so they can dance a little. But we'll be back.
Send your heart my way. Listen to the words that don't slip out my mouth. Just let me be the girl you always knew you'd give your love to in every kind of way. 'Cause I would wait all day to hear you say, Sechamo koki madwaro en inkende. Tosadu toki madwaro en inkende. Sechamo koki madwaro en inkende. Tosadu toki madwaro en inkende. Jahera, hold me slowly, gently wrap me in the warmth of your gaze. Just let me travel in the taste of blissful memories I miss when your kiss is all I know. 'Cause I would wait all day just to hear you say, Tosadu toki madwaro en inkende. Tosadu to en inkende. Sechamo koki madwaro en inkende. Say Tosadu toki madwaro en inkende. When I think of love, I see your face. Your infectious smile seems to leave me in a trance. Do you see where you lead me? You don't know how you sent me spinning around waist deep, head down, eyes closed. I'm dreaming of a better place. And in your arms is where I'd like to stay.
And we're back with my beautiful, beautiful guest, this eagle, Moret-Qubu. I'm gonna keep working on it every time.
Put your tongue in it.
Right, I got to. We'll learn behind the scenes. But so before we get into the thick of things, or even just discussing and dissecting the industry and how we can improve it, both as a consumer and as a stakeholder in the industry, I want to know what are because as I said, you've had experience with artist management and artist development and working with artists. So to you, what are the 3 signs/traits of a good artist-manager relationship?
This is I got asked the same question, a similar question yesterday, and that was a manager who was asking how to select an artist, or what's the best artist. And I think you've asked it in a better way. What's the best traits in an artist-manager relationship? Yeah. So I think first and foremost, unlike any other professional relationship. With an artist and manager relationship, it's almost a natural occurrence that there's a personal level to it. And a lot of people are just like, no, I just want to be a manager and like, you know, not have anything of my personal or personally tangled. And I found that one, if that's not what you want, it's going to be a very difficult job to do. Because naturally, when an artist is creating, they're creating from a spiritual place, from a soul. It's literally,
personal.
it's personal.
Yeah.
So you are dealing with a personal product.
Yeah.
So therefore, the relationship is going to be personal.
Yeah.
That does not mean the relationship does not have boundaries, though. So I think a lot of the time when I say this, someone thinks, "Oh wait, does this mean a manager would have to be available 24/7?" And I'm like, no. What I'm saying is the relationship is personal, whether or not you want to acknowledge it, and it makes your life very difficult if you want to be very impersonal with your artist. So one is understanding that this person is trusting you with their journey, but also vice versa. And a lot of artists also don't see this because a manager also has aspirations. You are both in a relationship to help each other advance and elevate. And actually, you've seen the best artist and manager relationships when they're really gotten right. They both thrive and they both respect each other, which would be the second element. True, deep respect. If I respect you as a professional, I also expect respect as a professional. And I've literally, ended a relationship with artists because I felt there was a lack of respect. And also, because for me, if you stop respecting me, then you don't respect what I do as well. So how am I helping you? Because it can't work, because you're not going to listen to my guidance or counsel, which is what I'm here, or take it seriously. So if also I'm here to be instructed by you, then I'm not here to do my job.
Right.
Then, maybe get a PA.
Yeah, that's an assistant.
Yeah, then get an assistant who can do what you want. But when we are in a relationship, I should own my part, which is be the best manager, and you should own your part and do your part in being the best artist. So that's also been a second reason where I've parted ways with artists, where they don't do their part. And like I was saying, you get people who, you want to create when you feel like it. Unfortunately, when you're now looking at your thing as a commercial business, that's not how it works. I choose to wake up every day to do what I do, whether or not I feel like it. And so even getting into those spaces, so mutual work ethic would be the third. So mutual work ethic, respect, and the common values where you now are actually able to appreciate each other on a personal level. So meaning that if, I value, for example, I value family, I value fun, I value results, and what you value is maybe something that's different. Let's say you maybe like commercially driven, you don't value the storytelling side, and maybe I value taking our history forward, telling our stories, etc. That's why I do what I do. You can be an excellent artist and actually very commercially viable, but if my core does not align to your core, then I cannot serve you.
It's useless.
Because there's artists who've told me, I don't care about the money, I want to get my art out there as far and wide as possible. So for me, I've got a working mandate, that's their goal. And then there's an artist who says, I want that paper. Me, I want to do it commercially right to its max. And if it means I'm even malleable, I will change my art. I don't mind, I'm not even attached to it in that manner. I want to put a product there for consumption purposes, and I want to work with someone who does that. That's also a relationship that I'd be open for, but it had to be clear on the why, because again, doing things for money is never, like, money is part of what you get, but there has to be something deeper, or else you run out of steam very quickly. So I think shared values, mutual respect, and mutual work ethic would really be at the core of it. And a lot of things get resolved very early on if that's also at its core. We don't have to be friends, by the way. I did not even say friendship or anything like this, buddy, like that's what I'm saying. So that's also what people actually think, like, oh, my friend should be my manager because my friend really understands me. Not really, because your friend has the skills.
Can they respect you?
And do they have the skills? Do they have the work ethic to put in? Do they have like, so it's again knowing what you can get out of a person and vice versa becomes absolutely paramount. And if we're now honest and we have that shared value basis as a beginning, so then I'm like, okay, this is what Valerie is trying to do as an artist. I need an artist like Valerie because as a manager, this is where I'm trying to get to. So I can't show proof in the pudding without an artist.
the pudding.
Without the pudding. And I
Yeah.
need the artist also to be creating that pudding. So if I'm sitting here with you and you're not creating product, what are we doing?
Yeah. I feel like very true. One way I've always looked at, or maybe now the way I look at my artist management, I think the relationship, to me at least, between an artist and a manager is very much, at least a successful one, is very much in resemblance of a life partner relationship. You know, I always tell artists, if you're picking someone, they have to be someone that you see yourself doing life with. It's very much like a marriage of sorts, you know. And like you said, so it's not it has to be give and take. We have these shared goals. We respect each other. We want the best for each other. You know, you're helping me get to where I need to go. I'm supporting you to get to where you need to go. And that mutual respect and mutual just synergy is important. So yes, artists, it's not just who this person manages this artist, they can do the same for me automatically. You know, it's
that's also one of the biggest lies artists tell themselves, and also one of the biggest lies managers also sell, that what they did with one artist they can do with another. There's no such thing. Artists are individual. Like we all know, you cannot predict how a song is even going to perform. You can put in all the right tools and work your strategy, etc. But you literally make another Hove.
There's no consistent formula. It's
like you quoted Hove. Hove said, make another Hove.
You can't.
Exactly.
You can't make, you know. So I'm glad. That's very interesting. So what has been the most useful advice that you've been given about navigating this specifically Kenyan industries?
So this would be applicable to Kenya, but also a general or way I decided to conduct myself. So working in business development meant, even before getting into new countries and helping businesses expand. What I found was the issue with that was no one really bothered to immerse themselves enough. So usually what they referred to was you inserting yourself in a market. So from corporate, what I'd learned was that the best way for to really be able to like launch in any new place would be to really understand it and to really understand its nuances. And that has to come from human connection and actually being based there. So when I was thinking about working in the Kenyan creative sector, so now I've fallen in love, I've told you. I'm willing to risk it all. I'm quitting my job, I'm selling my house, I'm selling my car. I'm ready to go, I'm saying bye to my friends. The reason that was important to do was because I had to exercise that lesson with myself too. So I couldn't now be working in the Kenyan industry from South Africa or from anywhere else at the time. I had to immerse myself here. And so because you start getting to know nuances of how people work, even specifically. So there's like cultural nuances anywhere you go. And so for us, even as Jerry Colisa, we really immerse ourselves in the markets that we work with. And that's because you understand so much deeper about how people relate. Business is relationships, basically.
Yes, so Jerry Colisa is the company we have.
Partner? Yes, my partner, yes.
Sorry.
So Jerry
For those that don't know.
So Jerry Colisa is our group. Under Jerry Colisa, we've got Jerry Colisa Consulting and Artist Rights Africa, which we founded both entities.
Which we'll get into in a bit, but yes.
So with under Jerry Colisa, it became really important to immerse ourselves in the markets because we've seen the mistake being done by corporates that we also worked and served. And, you know, something as like negotiation, for example, whereas, you know, in Kenya, pretty much like the culture is to negotiate. There's even like, you know, I was telling you, I love market culture. Like I love African markets and, you know, that like haggling, you know, you're talking thrifting, like in market and you're talking to someone and and this mama, you and
like
this.
A dance.
It is. I feel like it's such a beautiful dance. And I remember when I first moved here, I went to Maasai Market, and I'm used to seeing a price tag, and I can either afford something or not. And so I'm at the market, and I ask this guy, and I'm like, "How much is this?" And the guy tells me, and I'm like, "Okay," and I put it down, and I start walking with my friend, and this guy's like, "Mama, we are not finished talking." He's like, "But we are talking." He's like, "Why are you walking away? We're not finished talking." And he did it with such like the disrespect, like, "What are you doing, girl?"
That's not how we do things.
That's not how we do.
Yeah.
And like that's when I learned. I was like, "Oh, he was expecting it of me." Whereas where I come from, you're actually disrespecting me if you're asking me to lower my price and you now want to question it. So the culture I come from is that the price is the price and it's on the price tag and that's what you pay. And actually, it's disrespectful to ask me for a discount because that's culturally you're supposed to be supporting me. So even things like that, I wouldn't know that. Another nuance I observed early on was how, in Kenya, especially when we're even having those business meetings, we really start by getting to know each other. Like the ways, like we get to know each other, we feel each other out, and then we get to, talking about the business. And then even the money conversation here works very differently. And like there were times where I'd bring that ish up very quickly, very bold, and then people look at me like, it's off-putting, like, hey, why are we talking about money now? And in a lot of instances where, people would say, we're gonna, that money, yes, but let's get our things right. And I found that...
So in SA, it's very direct, like, this is what it is.
This is what it is, this is what's gonna cost, blah, blah.
No small
and
talk.
then no small talk, why, I don't need to know more about your life than this. And here, I think the who you are also matters quite a lot in how people relate, which it should. It's a very African culture centered, whereas like South Africa has a lot of like Western nuances that are really like now ingrained in us, and which is also like, we just like really our freedom is also really new when you think about it. So that culturally like those things are still very much in there, and also where a people has gone through shapes of society. So Kenyans owning their land versus South Africans not owning their land gives a different pride as well. So also coming here was for me an eye-opener to see people of color being in so many leadership roles, to see women being in so many leadership roles, way more female business owners, and I was just looking at like the Kenyan woman and being like, this is great. And so like I said, I was at a point where I also needed to be brave to make that step. So for me coming into Kenya, it was like culturally I need to do this, and I would advise it's not only with Kenya, but anywhere you're trying to do business. Invest in getting to know your territory. So this place is a beautiful place, and you can find, all of like life's treasures, like things like, this is my chosen place to live as well right now, until the government decides otherwise. But it's my chosen place to live because things like, for example, the, crime rates for me versus SA, gender-based violence and all of that. So on a personal level. So for me, the advice was really know your market intimately. So that's what I'm saying. It's not just for Kenya. It's like anywhere you want to be, and that's how you find so for me, Kenya then stopped being about just doing business here. It was about, is this a community where I see myself, where I can raise a family, where I can grow and learn. So this is not an attachment and assignment for me, which is why a lot of expats come here, right? And then you're here for a year, 2 years, 3 years max, and then people bounce. I live here. So for me, I'm like, invest in living in a market, get to know a market intimately before you come and set up shop there, because very soon you'll know whether or not you align with the market on a value level, on a spiritual level, on a life level. So for me, Kenya was that for me. So the best advice I can give if you're considering expanding territories, because things can also look attractive on paper. I won't mention any countries, but like there's propaganda that we get told. And then you go there and Vituko ground.
Vituko ground is different.
And then the people are just like, don't do it. Like I went to a country and someone was like, I know you always come here and like you live, I could live here. And she was like, don't do it. We are ruled by the military. Like, and so like these are things where you wouldn't know. And then you land and then you find out these are not my people. This is not my vibe. There's all sorts of things that don't work for me. So For me, the industry gave me a chance to exercise what I want to do career-wise, but also, man, I love this place.
Yeah. I think that advice is great specifically, and I want the event organizers, the companies and conglomerates that come to invest in Kenya, even in the Kenyan music industry, please learn. Don't just come and throw money at a thing and expect it to be great. Research and work with the people on the ground. Don't just come bring your expertise from CG because they're the best in the world. Now they can come. No, you have to be with the people, learn from the people intimately, right? So anyway, child. Artist Rights Africa, ARA. It is your company that deals with IP rights management and education for the African artist, which I think is so amazing and overdue because, knowledge is power. We can't evolve and can't grow as an industry without people being informed of what their rights are and stuff. So give me a rundown. When was it founded? Why was it founded? How is it going?
Well, first, I'm a nerd first, clearly.
Yeah.
I do believe.
Yes.
In their doing my second master's, and I'm just like, but so I really believe in education. But what's changed about my perception around education and what we need is the way we've looked at education and delivery and formal education as sources. And so, we have a lot of people, and especially in the creative sector, who don't follow that formal route. And what it means is that they miss out on a lot of things that should be knowledge to them, because they're usually put in a way that's not for them. And so far, how basically ARA came about after I used to lead a record label, Soul Generation, and when I was there, that's when the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, there were very many challenges faced by the business, because largely from the model the business model was being sustained by live events, and with cessation of movement, that revenue stream dries up. So it went into a reality show, some brand partnerships and stuff to get the money going. But what I kept asking myself is, where is this revenue from the actual music, right? So how much are we even collecting in streaming that's not even denting our bank account? So where is this bag? You look and you read everywhere, and at the time they were saying people are at home, their indoors music consumption has skyrocketed, blah blah blah, and I'm like, but where is it?
Where is the result? Where's the money?
Yeah. And so already at the time, I had been expanding my knowledge around intellectual property just to also just get a solid grip of understanding, because I understood that certain structures don't work, but I needed to be clear on why and whether and what could be done about them. So the more research I did, so after leaving Soul Generation and going really into consulting and training, and also thinking I need to scale up what I do, because then at a record label level I'm helping at most 4 acts or something, whereas what I do is in demand by more artists. So I'm getting a lot of inquiries, and so that's why I went the consultant route. And so when I was talking to a lot of people, a big area I used to get asked about was intellectual property, and people becoming curious about that. And also the more cases you see in media, the more people become aware and curious about what this is. So how does it work in Kenya? Then I did an intellectual property course on copyright in the US, as well as Kenyan copyright as well, through Harvard Law as well, and Copyright X. And that gave both my partner and I actually did the same course, and deep knowledge on even the differences, similarities, but also the foundations of what governs IP. And when we started to learn, we realized that this information can be disseminated.
People need to know.
Exactly, with artists without actually them needing to be experts. So that's why our things around demystifying IP management and IP education and IP world through education, because it was, when people are missing out on something because it's like someone hid the book away from you.
Gatekeeping. Yeah, it's gatekeeping.
Like
at its
gatekeeping
finest.
by just
Yeah.
hiding the book away from you.
Right,
Like, because I'm like this
a free book.
Yeah, a free book. Like the knowledge is there and stuff. So I was like, wait, what can I do about it? Yeah, I like adopting things.
Yeah.
Clearly solving problems.
You're a problem solver and a creator.
Yeah, and
Together
again, like I
doing
keep
that.
saying, my first thought was, how do I make money out of this? I am. Artist Rights Africa is a free platform for all members. You sign up. There's a blog. There's a monthly newsletter. There's articles. We educate people, but we also update people on what's happening on a legislative level, global cases that might also share insights on how to work on issues. That space is ever changing, and there's no more time that it's been important for an artist to be on top of what's happening around the world. You've got AI, you've got all this. We need to know what the implications are on our creative works. You've got new platforms popping up every day now, and it's like social media has evolved from us just like chatting. We're sharing music, content, etc. All that is intellectual property. So how is that governed in those spaces? So platform management, etc. So a lot of the artists are also working independently in Africa, and that's why it's about the African artist. So what we do is also we tailor it in a way that serves how our structures are built. So a lot of the time when you also read about how the music business works, it's US based and it's based on their structures, so their record label industry model, which is very different to here.
Their case studies are American. We don't really have. Yeah.
And we also don't see how, we've got what we call record labels, but really are they? So this is where you're just like, okay, cool, can we actually adopt these models or not? Or should we be rethinking these structures? So ARA is also part of that step of really rethinking structures to serve us, because we're working with a rule book that was not created with us in mind. So that's why it's for the African artist. And one thing that I also wanted to do with this platform is have somewhere where I can also have the voice of the artist, so we have a voice that represents us in spaces. So we have great relationships with the Moret-Qubus, Capasos, Samros, and all those CMOs as well. So it's in between the artist who's on the ground, as well as these structures and the industry. And advocacy is something that we're also really passionate about, and creating partnerships with the people who are also creating the solutions and making sure our voices are heard. It's going really well. We've been running an annual IP month training as well, and it was amazing. We in April every year, and then every other month we've got our newsletter and all the content that comes out. We also started serving artists actually and helping them, with their cases. And then most recently we had a visual artist who took a brand and got awarded 1.5 million.
What? In court?
No, in a
So they
mediation.
settled.
In
Wow,
a settlement.
You did the mediation.
45 minutes.
I love that. We need that. We need.
Yeah, because also artists
Yeah.
think the only way is like court. Litigation is long and expensive. So these are some of the some of the knowledge we also give, services we also give, that there are other options. I've actually just I was doing a mediation and arbitration workshop with WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization. Even for my, like I say, I'm a nerd, man. Me, I'm just always like, because I was like, I need to get in it. Like, I need to understand, what are these clauses? What should we be considering? What are these alternative dispute resolution methods? And that's why, because people just think, oh my gosh, a lawyer, it's going to be expensive. I don't want to think about
people
it.
are
I don't
scared.
want to.
They just run away from it altogether.
And then your intellectual property is being infringed upon. You don't know what to do because you feel like you're too broke to afford this. And so we also want to take that mentality out of lack, and that there's no options when you lack, especially financially, as a lot of our creatives do. And so Artist Rights Africa is really to serve and to also come as a solution in a space that's also evolving. And the only way we can get those solutions is by interacting with the artists. And one of the first conversations I had with Edward Kekobo, he was saying, that's all good and well. You're asking me about, what the structures are doing, collection and stuff, but how many artists are actually participating and involved in having their voice heard? So that's why we get laws that don't speak to how we conduct ourselves in the industry, because no one is being our voice. And we don't sit on boards. We don't elect ourselves. We don't go.
Yeah, I think that's another thing. I know a bitter truth is that us Kenyan artists, we complain, and I'm guilty of this, we complain about the structures, CMOs, they don't work for us, but it's very rare that... we tweet about it, but it's very rare that you find artists that are actively trying to make it a better space. You mentioned briefly AI, and even though this wasn't like part of the questions I had in mind, IP and AI right now is such a wild time, because we had, even in America, the writers and the SAG, that's Screen Actors Guild, went on strike because these big companies like Disney and all that, they want to essentially take your likeness and use that and create AI like deep fakes so that they can act without actually needing you. And the actors and writers were like, what's our IP if AI takes over?
Not even writers, musicians. Writers are coming out writers coming out also because AI is being trained on their work. So if I'm an author, you could literally instruct AI and be like,
your style.
Just give me another Harry Potter.
Give me the style of this, and it does it.
So give me a J.K. Rowling, whatever. So there are many cases around. It is scary, but I don't know what the right answer is, but I always believe that with technological evolutions, I was born way before the internet. So 39, but 39 and fine. But and so I've lived through a lot of these, because I remember even when the internet was coming about, people were just like, "Yo, what is this? It's going to change. It's going to take over." Blah blah blah. And so there is that part of like fearing things, and but there's also a part of really now starting to think about, what does this mean, and how can we think about this as an opportunity and not, be fearful, and what structures can we put in place? So one being, what should the law be saying, and how should the law be adapted? The whole AI thing brings, in terms of copyright, gives rise to questions around the definitions of originality, which is a core definition in copyright. What qualifies as originality? So again, now what does originality mean if you even incorporate anything that's got AI in it? And also artificial intelligence and AI has been active, it's just that it's advanced more. So there already has been usage it's been active in it's just that right now at the level it's at, we're able to also create works that could be now infringing, etc. And we are training bots on the internet, on other people's work. So fundamentally, on a core level, works created by AI, the argument is that if you used what's online to create that, it does not meet the originality criteria, because it's almost a derivative work automatically. So then it's about who would you even credit, right? Because if you're using an AI software that what's that crediting going to look like? And then I know the US recent court ruling said you cannot protect works that contain AI. And then, there's people who say, is it possible that we treat AI the same way we treat things like computer programs, where the person who's instructing is considered the copyright holder, even though they're using a machine? That because you instruct a platform to create, that is the creativity. Your prompt is your creativity or your skill or what you show, and so therefore you are able to own the end result. So there's very and then again, what does it mean in terms of creativity? Is this like the death of creativity? If I can just get an AI to give me
to make a
Eminem
painting
song,
of a
painting,
can do anything.
blah blah, and then but I feel like it could be exciting if we started asking ourselves, how much further could we stretch our creativity then? So what did we see previously as boundaries, and what does this open up more? I feel like fighting the inevitable is a useless game. So we can put law, so I feel like the legal system could come and make sure that we've got something that governs us. It's like something like crypto and why it was not being adopted and why it's not adopted. I mean, there's a lot of issues around the banking sector and why the banking sector in the world and the powers that be don't want it. But even that, it was, seeing how crypto is an opportunity, but also at the same time, we've seen it's a mad risky sport.
Both sides, yeah.
Exactly. So but we could have better laws, and now that's what we're seeing. We lacked laws around cryptocurrency, and now all of these crypto scams coming up. It's not because cryptocurrency is bad. It's because we didn't create legislation that addresses
to
exactly.
protect us. Yeah, I think because this AI is such a big conversation. It's going into music, going into tech, into writing. So I think we need an ARA workshop or just like one of those webinars where we just break down AI, what's the solution to protect ourselves. Like you said, it's inevitable. So let's just be smart and stop resisting, but more so just find a way to make it work for us.
No, definitely. We've done actually our newsletter topic, the launch newsletter, because the newsletter is now 3 months old. So the newsletter launched this year. I think the very first topic we actually launched was AI and IP. And we got so many responses. So basically similar to what you're saying, people want a session. We've done a brief during IP week. One of the weeks was AI, but we didn't go in depth. And at the time, like I'm saying, so rapidly evolving.
So much
at
has
the
changed
time, since
April
then,
in AI.
exactly.
Like what?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So we've had strikes, we've had court cases,
Yeah.
we've now had rulings,
Yeah.
which start to set precedent. So this could actually be a great, even like a workshop, like a full day.
This used to be a physical, not even
Yeah,
just a
this is
webinar.
because you
Physical
need like all experts. Because right
conversations.
now, because it's not cast in stone in terms of the rules, you have a lot of voices and opinions, and I feel like that's what we need to start doing. Talking it out, man. Get in there voices and hear different perspectives, because first time I heard about the chances of AI disrupting the world, etc. I was in the accounting space, and it was something like someone basically fear-mongering, like accountants are going to be invalid because like this audit process is because already there's audit software, right? And audit software right now is so much further advanced than in 2007, 2008 when I started at PwC. So like now, you could see how certain careers could be or functions in careers could be redundant. However, it means I have more time to do something else, and I can apply myself so that's why I saw
Glass
it.
half empty, glass half full.
Yeah, but at the time, accountants were, pooping themselves about the possibility. I went to school for so long, and then a computer's going to do what I do.
Yeah.
I've studied, I don't know if you've seen, like accountants carry these like IFRS, International Finance Regulatory, I forgot, yeah, but basically it's rules of accounting and auditing rule books, but like you carry like, if you, the accountant on campus, you'd know us because we carry those big bags. So people were saying IFRS books, IFRS books. So we spent all these years memorizing these laws, and like you're like, yeah, clause this, a section this says this, and according to this, and then now a computer is going to be able to do that. But the truth is, there was a time where you couldn't Google, and then there was a time you could Google, and that brought efficiency, but that must have put someone out the job. The encyclopedia lost. Man, like we had that stuff in our family home for years, and then next thing, there was a computer connected to a phone line, and those things were just like ornaments. Yeah, because even the information in them is even like redundant. Like actually, if you pick up it's evolved. So I would say fearing and not learning more about how we see it as an opportunity would be our biggest loss. Kenya is really great when it comes to like technology stuff. I mean, like Kenya literally leads. Dude, every time I leave, also, oh yeah, maybe I should have mentioned that I also moved here for the internet. South African internet is, we didn't even, actually load shedding had just started when I was leaving, but man, when every time I'm in South Africa, that internet is the ghetto.
Okay. We have to. I'm trying to wrap up a few more questions because I only have 10 minutes left with you. But I've always, I feel like as a musician, our CMOs, our royalty collection organizations, they are not efficient. They, a lot of artists would say that they feel stolen from. They feel, we have artists like Calligraph Jones getting a yearly royalty check of 2K, right? And so it really makes no sense. So someone's eating somewhere. And I look at what's the CMO in SA? It's called
Samro,
I
Capasso,
look. So they have a few.
Yeah.
And I feel like that the SA royalty collection system works way better than Kenya. So I want to know briefly, like in your experience working music here and there, like what's the difference in our royalty collection systems? Like what works there that's not working here?
The South African royalty system or some South African CMOs have also come a long way. So what you're seeing right now, today where we sit, is an evolved system. So we also largely had the same issues, like similar issues. There's had to be, I don't know, I think South Africans also as people, the fight is fresh within us because we've literally just been, so when something comes up and it feels like an injustice, we take it to the streets.
Immediately.
I mean, there was a girl whose hair in school was an issue. The nation took it to the streets. That's how we about. That's how serious we are when we feel something being an injustice. So similarly, that artists also stood up. There was exhaustion around constantly grieving artists who've passed and realizing that they're dying broke, and then asking where's the money, and then it's like, oh no, this was the producer, and then the producer's like, oh no, but I had to be paid, and there was a lot of exploitation from Brenda Fassie to like a lot of people who are legends, and they died poor.
Unless they were signed to like a European CMO.
No, even those, not even the CMOs, it was someone who signed you to a European CMO. So I even know a case where someone's family found out that the artist was registered and they didn't own any of the rights. I even saw something, was it Oliver Mtukudzi? Like there's a lot of African greats where you hear about all these like sad stories about somebody else owning their rights or accessing their money, and the families not being told that this person signed over their rights. So that's something ARA also does. But yeah, anyway, the South African CMOs, people fought, and artists started participating. So if you look at Samro and all those they announced their boards, and their boards consist of artists, and we're not talking about like artists from like 1900s. We also are talking artists who are active as well as artists who are retired, but are able to also speak in this voice, because you also have artists who have even gone to school and become lawyers, like I was saying, like you've got artists. So we need to participate and form these bodies so that we make it, because who's sitting in those, so there's nothing wrong with the structure. So, I've heard people say CMOs don't work. It's not CMOs don't work. The CMO is a structure. Who is in the CMO? Another huge improvement has been the transparency. So digitization and having transparency. So, you'd receive, you can look up who they distributed what to and stuff. So things are there, what data they're getting. Things are easier to register for example, the ease of registration. So you can actually see also music that's unclaimed or revenue that's sitting there. There's spreadsheets that get sent out, so you can also see if there's money that you're leaving on the table, etc. Decisions are not made on behalf of the artists without consulting the artists, and actually these processes. And they also invest in education. I'm seeing Kekobo do a lot of work, but I'm not seeing a lot of the CMOs also go out there and do their own road shows and tell people
Right now,
about
it's
what
just
they do.
NGOs like perform and
Exactly,
stuff.
yeah.
Doing the work.
And
so
we're
that
doing
we can-
exactly, but like the CMO are not also telling people about what they do and how they serve.
Because they're not trying to change something that works for them so perfectly. If
And
I'm eating
meantime-
well, I'm not going to.
But we've had
educate you
audits
so you can-
that have told us what's happening in the CMOs. It's also not that we don't know. So if an audit came out and said almost about 70% was being kept and 30% distributed, when only the maximum that a CMO legally in Kenya is allowed to keep of the funds is 30% for whatever fees and 70% is supposed to be distributed, there's, for example, a very clear problem being highlighted. So then we have to go ask ourselves, where did the money go? What was it spent on? Because it's your money, and the artists need to do that. The artists need to go and unite. That's why we need a union and all of these things, because we need to actually now start formalizing ourselves. And that's, I mean, like ARA is a structure that's created for us as African artists to come together. So now if we're able to rally as a body, that's what I'm saying, with ARA, it's we don't all the consultations that happen under Jayukulisa Consulting, because ARA is literally for the culture. It's free. It's not our money making machine. And if we're able to now unite under an umbrella, and then I can take issues forward. Knowing that I've got X number of artists who have said, this is what we want, these are our demands, then people can start hearing us. We are okay tweeting in our bedrooms there and, being creative there, but no one is coming up with solutions at that level. So we need to be the ones that are challenging the CMOs, because that's what happened in South Africa. People started asking the questions. I'm hearing my music being played. Where's my money? And so we've had audits. So these things we need to be demanding. Can we see all the audit results? How can we access who's registered, who's not registered? How can we know who voted on this? Were members consulted? Where's the AGM notification? I get AGM notices, even down to my uni from like undergrad to this day as an alumni. So if like a CMO should really be able to do that, because you've got a membership list, because, how do I check my details, for example, that you actually do have portals? This is the king of technology country.
Right.
We are 5G.
Right.
I'm struggling with 3G
How are
in
we
South
acting
Africa
like we
sometimes.
are?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've got everything to support what we need to do. We just need to do it. But again, I do not know what needs to be said to awaken the artist to say, stop being complacent. Your savior is not coming. Your savior is in you. So if you are going to be waiting for somebody else to and what is interesting to me is that the Kenyan curator has done this on so many other things, but not with intellectual property. So we've solved our problems with so many other things, and we found like creative ways to work. I mean, like the live music space, for example, there's so many things and solutions that are also being created constantly, blah, 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 to give us spaces, different taste preferences. There's conversations that have happened around artists being paid and blah, blah. We've had round tables and blah. Why are we afraid of challenging these people, uniting and presenting what we want?
Yeah. Yeah, it's our business. So I think one thing that I am concluding from even the previous interviews that I've had, because like I said, the objective of the podcast is to have these conversations with the different stakeholders in the industry to not only identify the problems, but to see how we can get solutions. And one thing I've noticed, it's like, for us to get to the end goal where it's a successful industry and system where artists can actually make money of revenue of their music, I think step one was education, which I'm seeing at least we're checking that box, because we have all these NGOs that are providing music professional education, international standard of knowledge, which is amazing. I think step number two is now this musicians need to unionize, advocacy. We need to take our activism seriously for ourselves, Artivism, come on now. Yeah, we need to. We know what I think we're very individualistic society sometimes, in certain things, and this is one of them. And so, this is every artist needs to take. We're very passive, and we're so okay with but that's just the way it is. But now we have reached a time where we can actually revolutionize and be like, no, I have power. So this main podcast is me taking back my power, and having these conversations is that. Then step 3, we get it done. Because once we unionize, they strength in numbers.
Yeah. And also, again, unionizing doesn't mean you personally go fight your own battles, but you have to let it known what you're about and who stands for you. So then if you've got a union, a body, a movement,
a group, whatever it is,
that's representing you, then we take a mandla to the world and we have our voices heard. But it doesn't, no savior is not coming, guys. Jesus is not coming for our music industry.
Jesus gave us everything we need to make it right.
Like, it's within us. He is within us. The power is within us. So nobody is coming. And that's actually as empowered as we feel when we're even making some of our creative, or the bravery we exercise in putting our creativity out. We need to be just as fierce in fighting for the value and the livelihood of our works. Or else, we are our own saboteurs.
I'm so for you. I want to give you your flowers for all that you have done in the industry. You started to develop the artists that are superstars right now, literally, and you set a foundation that I'm sure they reference, and all these ARA and your work at Jericho, Lisa, and your work at Perform. Who knew we needed a South African queen to come and just work with
identify as just African.
Sorry, Miss Pan-African, I'm sorry, but we're so grateful, and I'm so grateful to know you.
I love you.
As someone in the industry and as a friend, and thank you for making time for the Proof of Concept podcast.
Always, we're taking things forward. Yes. I'm always a part of that.
Yeah. All right. It has been amazing, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Until the next time, bye.